One of the things that you just mentioned is that that you were working with people who were either going to live in the houses or they were going to turn them around.
Mm-hmm.
What kinds of changes did you see over the years as regards whether people were actually flipping the houses or whether they were living in them themselves,
Right.
doing it to live in themselves?
Well, when I first started on the commission, there was a lot of people still dealing with the investment properties, and doing them. Many of them would live in them for a while and then sell them and move on to another. Some would redo them, rent them. I don't really know because I'm not on the commission, but my sense is that there's probably not as much of that now as there was. I mean, German Village in those early days was really a real estate investment. And those people that bought those early properties, they were interested in saving the area, but they were also interested in the economic benefit from the real estate venture.
And did most of those people, were they absentee or did they actually live here in German Village?
Well, let me think. Of course, Frank Fetch lived here. Bill Schur, I don't think ever lived here. He had several rental properties. Ernie Clough never lived here. I can't remember whether Hugh Parsons did or not. I think there were probably a few that did, but I would say the majority of them in those early days probably did not. Mm-hmm. They had the money to buy up the properties, but didn't choose to live in them.
And you said you were on the commission up until 1988.
That's correct.
Yeah. And so how did you see things change over life of your time on the commission?
Well, when I first went on the commission in 1974, we were just at that stage where in those early days, if anything people did within reason to make an improvement to the house, you felt like maybe you should approve it. Not always that they did, but it was so run down, so many of them, that just to have improvements meant so much. But about the time that I went on the commission, we were beginning to feel we better clamp down a little bit. We're letting some things happen that shouldn't happen. I mean, we're using the wrong kinds of siding. The whole thing about aluminum siding, and we'd had a board and batten. We were getting away from board and batten. We were being more concerned about being sure you had the right kind of windows. So it began to get fussier and fussier. I shouldn't say fussy. I mean, we were trying to keep the integrity of the village, and that's actually what I think the commission does. And then that, of course, called for the guidelines to be written.
And can you share with us about your involvement with the guidelines?
Well, during my last year on the commission, we were writing the guidelines. I spent a lot of time with a lot of people. Connie Swain actually chaired that committee, and Nancy Ritchie and Jeff Darby and Judy Williams were really the writers, and we spent many meetings with preservationists, with commission members, with society members, with neighbors for input, and then started writing. I mean, Nancy and Jeff and Judy started writing. The rest of us were offering information and then editing as it came out. Spent a lot of time, but it was fun. But never got to use.
Because you retired?
Right. So.
Yeah, so that must have been an amazing process to go through.
It was. Yeah. And that happened because of the German Village Foundation, which was the original not-for-profit arm down here, and from the Oktoberfest that they had done, the money was available to do guidelines. It's one of the
Were you part of the German Village Foundation?
Not an original. I was on it a bit at the very end, but not really. Yeah, Grace Highfield was the one who was really the driving force behind the foundation. She believed very strongly in the foundation and was hard and felt we needed the not-for-profit part. So no, Connie was, and Fred was, and I think Sid Druin. Don't remember who else was on that. Gracie, of course. Yeah.
So you're talking a little bit about the changes in the structure of German Village over the course of your time here.
Mm-hmm.
What other changes have you seen in the structure of German Village over the course of 50 years?
Well, I'm not quite sure what you mean by structure of German Village. Are you talking about, the changes that I'm most conscious of course, are the architectural ones and what's happened to the difference in the people, the difference in the economic level of people that live here. I mean, today, we're not out moving each other's sand and gravel and laying each other's brick. We're having somebody else do it. If you're talking about the society, was never really particularly active in the society. Certainly helped with house and garden tours and did those things and was a member of the society, but was never on the board. And it's coming around in a different fashion now too, I think. So it's interesting.
Yeah, what do you see happening now that you find interesting?
Well, having been to yesterday's annual meeting and having heard all the things that we've done and how much has been accomplished, it's very impressive. That with the back to the historic preservation and I think there are lots of exciting things going on there. This being one of them, the oral history, to record what's happened. I know that John and others have done bits and pieces of this along the way. I know there's a lot of written material, but in this day and age, people don't seem to be too interested in written materials. They are more interested in instant gratification, it seems. Which is fine. I'm not being critical.
Instant gratification of laying bricks to make a patio.
That was pretty good, but it wasn't very instant. That was a slow process.
Well, I know that the entrance to 3rd Street, or the 3rd Street entrance to Schiller Park, is maintained by you, the garden there. I just wonder how you got involved in that.
Well, actually, the Highfield Garden is, we did an endowment fund for the Highfield Garden. For a while, I was paying for the maintenance of the Highfield Garden, but we did an endowment fund through the Columbus Foundation. And we did it with through the Columbus Foundation because that's where Gracie would have wanted it. And she was very supportive of the Columbus Foundation. And when it came time to do an endowment fund, that was my choice of where it should be. So that's what we did. So that's really, it was the Highfield Garden that I was doing. And from that, then when we got enough money in the foundation, the interest off that to pay for the gardener to do the Highfield Garden, then the 3rd Street Garden entrance was looking like it could use some help beyond the volunteers, and so I said, why didn't I pay for Paul, the Highfield gardener, to maintain it too?
Okay, and the Highfield Garden is where the umbrella grows?
Yes, it's one next to the umbrella grow.
And how long is that? And that is in honor of Grace Highfield?
That's correct, right, yeah, right. Right.
And when was that garden developed?
I think it was 92. I've sort of forgot. I think it was 92. 90 or 92 when we dedicated it. Yeah, yeah. Along with the Umbrella Girl, and the Umbrella Girl was, then we did the Highfield Garden adjacent to it in her honor.